Hello, let me start with a question. Why don't people work on Sundays? You may say because it's a holiday. No, why is Sunday or any other day of the week a holiday? People used to work every day, every week for the whole year, and it took a lot of struggles and persuasion to get one day off every week. And what about 8-hour work shifts? Same story. But as time goes by, we take it for granted, as if weekly holidays and the work shifts were always there. Let me ask another question. Why is it expected that everything must make a profit? Every product, every person, every institution. And why efficiency is equated to profit? The new Electricity Amendment Bill to be tabled soon in the Parliament exactly its personification. While we tend to forget that in India, once upon a time, people's lives mattered more. Welcome to the Money Trail. Please subscribe to our channel. Rewind to 2020, the farmers' struggle at the Delhi borders. It was a long drawn-out battle for more than a year, and the stalemate ended when the government accepted all the demands. Farm laws were repealed. The Electricity Amendment Bill was dropped. Farmers opposed this electricity bill, fearing that it will end the power subsidies. But now, the union government wants it back after 6 months. They may table it in the parliament session this month.
All my interlocutors are on board for the amendment, and I am sanguine that the amendments to the Electricity Act we should be able to bring. I am targeting the monsoon session. Let us try. And if we do that, then I'll be adding one more provision in that.
This is the lifeline of the modern world, electricity. And in India, its distribution is mostly the monopoly of government entities. The new bill proposes to bring in private players into exactly this realm. There were some earlier provisions and now it will be strengthened. It's for the customer's benefit, government claims. A customer can choose from different distributors according to merit, and the best distribution company shall only thrive. But what if all the high billing customers are wooed by the private players and the poor with less than 100 rupee bills will only remain with the government distribution companies?
See, the lowest of the low, a hut dweller with a 40-watt bulb, he also consumes electricity. And a 5,000, 7,000 crore Antila house of Ambani is also consuming electricity. So when there is vast variety of consumers, when that happens, you are serving to millions and millions of customers of various capacity to pay. And you have to directly deal. The cash flow is very important.
Let me give some live example of Maharashtra. In the year 2021-22, the average cost of supply in Maharashtra was 726 paise per unit. The HT consumer ABR, that is average billing rate, was 13 rupees 27 paise. What is the first impact of multiple discounts to be introduced in Maharashtra? What they will be doing? Naturally, they will be cherry picking the high revenue customers. High revenue customer who is paying me 13 rupees 27 paise will go from MSEDCL, and who will remain with MSEDCL will be all subsidized consumers.
And in rural areas, it will be worse. When profit is the only motive, who wants the subsidized power consuming farmers, the hut dwellers? No private player will dare to go there. While the government distribution company cannot do the same, they cannot shy away. They will continue to provide power in the rural areas, suffering losses, while losing customers in the urban landscape.
Only cherry picking, that's what I'm saying. Then will they take the entire distribution? You see, you brought a very, very interesting subject. Then they take up the rural supply also. Why only cities?
What does the proposed amendment has to say about this cherry picking of customers and lucrative areas? There is provision of supply obligation fund for adjusting the subsidy granted to a section of customers, but many have concerns.
But who will compute this surplus? Why are we making these issues very complicated? Because the moment we make the issues very complicated, moment they are not clear in the act, there will be a lot of litigations. Lot of people will go into there will be various litigations, and they will take a long time to settle. So the success of experiment of multiple distribution companies will depend how we handle PPAs, how we handle USO funds, how we handle the cross subsidy surcharge, how we handle the wheeling charges, and correct computation of fuel cost adjustment.
In India, most of the state-owned energy distribution companies are in loss. Some are in huge losses. There are many reasons, and the union government says the new bill is to save them. But it seems the idea is just the opposite, shutting down of government companies, and then the monopoly of few private players. What happened when we opened telecom industry in the late 1990s? Private players flocked in, millions had mobile phones, and calls became cheaper. But after 20 years, where do we stand? Just 3 players, with Ambani's Jio literally controlling the market, while Airtel is the poor second, and Vodafone struggling to stay afloat. The government entity BSNL was systematically pushed out of the market, first by disallowing new bandwidths, you know the 3G 4G story, then insisting on local purchases for infrastructure while others floated global tenders. And we have reached here. On every second call, we get the message subscriber does not exist, call drops and whatnot, while BSNL is in its last breaths. And for the record, it was BSNL who made the incoming calls cheaper for the first time in the country. As I said earlier, we take some things for granted. And coming back to the electricity story, we are going to California. The year is 2001.
We were in the middle of a very different type of energy crisis, and the governor actually lost his job over it. It started with deregulating the power grid. The idea was that more competition would lower prices. What actually happened was major market manipulation.
The US state of California opened the power sector for private players and deregulated the price, expecting that competition will bring down the prices. But prices skyrocketed. And it was later known that the private companies created artificial shortages, causing power blackouts, thus raking up the price and making windfall profits.
I want you guys to get a little creative, and come up with a reason to go down.
Like a forced outage type thing.
Right.
Will this repeat in India? Government says no. The new bill has robust provision to cut off defaulting distribution companies from the power grid, mechanism to cancel operations for companies for unfair trade practices. The customers can always switch over to other distributors. Fair enough?
Electricity, this is not possible. Just not possible. This minister R.K. Singh, he doesn't have any idea what service and electricity is. He was a home secretary. He is acting more like a police sub-inspector or inspector. If you say, all right, if the DISCOM is failing to pay, sometimes they will find difficult to payment. There may be technical hitches also. You will stop the entire supply to DISCOM. The sufferer is not DISCOM, you and me, the consumers. I am in a very critical state and my factory is running, power will go away. I am sitting in something else, critical thing, my power will go away. This is not the way to manage a critical service like electricity. These fellows don't know what about electricity.
Non-renewable energy production is on the rise in India, as it is in the other parts of the world. And the new amendment has provisions for heavy penalties for non-payment of dues to such producers. But some say there is a fundamental flaw. Rather than decentralized power generation from such sources, government aims for huge production facilities. That also means big private players coming in. While the union government wants to ensure their payments, huge solar panels set across the country are going to be the reason for the next round of environment degradation. Many studies have raised alarm already. It's an irony that non-renewable power sources introduced to reduce environmental impact from other power sources like thermal and nuclear may itself become another menace if we don't handle it properly. But is the present system flawless? Absolutely no. The non-payment of dues by the state governments is a fact, and many state-owned distribution companies are at the verge of closing down. Doesn't the situation demand a strict action, like the minister said?
We are increasing the penalties for missing the renewable purchase obligations. So once we do that, I think the market will not be an issue whatsoever. In any case, right now and going forward, the market is not an issue. The demand has increased so much, so people will buy electricity.
Now let's look at the larger picture. After the coming in of GST, states have virtually lost control over their financial resources, bulk of their financial resources. Now, of course, they have some resources, some states are buoyant. So the revenue source of these state governments have been extremely limited after the advent of the GST. They have to wait for government of India to release. They themselves delayed.
It's hard times. Every state is reeling under economic pressure. They don't have much money to spend. Meanwhile, the power distribution system shouldn't come to a grinding halt. We need a balance. Why not the entire states come together under the union government to think of a plan? Let's discuss. Different states have different challenges and needs. India is too big for one homogeneous economic law to solve it all. Let that sink in. Run pilot projects, assess its impact, and move forward accordingly, cautiously. There are no such stones that can kill all the birds. And for those who are not yet convinced, just remember demonetization. Thank you.